Marshall Chriswell is on the line with us. It's another installment of Marshall Law, and it is brought to you by Marshall Chriswell himself. And this program is intended to be for informational purposes only. The information does not constitute legal advice. The law constantly changes. The information may not be complete or correct depending on the date and your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Because of these differences, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. And, of course, Marshall Chriswell is certainly among those ranks. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you with us today.
Nice to be here.
All right. So we are yellow now. We all turned yeller last week on Friday, and I would assume that means that you're able to offer some more in terms of on-site work at your offices?
That's right. The doors are going to be unlocked today for the first time in a couple of months. So that's a good feeling.
Oh yeah, I bet you. And so full range of services offered, obviously.
That's right. So I'm meeting with clients. I'm able to accept new clients and maintain ongoing cases and have people in here for meetings and real estate closings and estate plan signings and things like that. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, we are being very cautious. We're complying with, CDC and state guidelines as far as ensuring that we're sanitizing on a very regular basis. Certainly, in between every client, we're wearing masks. And observing social distancing as much as possible during our meetings. Mm-hmm. But that being said, open for business.
All right, so that's at your offices in the atrium. That location's going to change, though, isn't it?
That's right. So we're open this week, and then next week, obviously, is Memorial Day week, and I think we'll be closed on Monday and maybe open on Tuesday, but then we'll be closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday because we're relocating. So we've been here in the atrium building for 6 years, and we are relocating over to the R&P building, which is around the corner from the post office on the 700 block or 600 block of Church Street.
Okay, so you're staying in the same neighborhood, though?
I'll be about a block away, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phone numbers, everything going to stay the same?
All that's going to stay the same. Phone numbers, and obviously email addresses and everything. Just the physical location will change.
All right. So that everybody take note of that. By the way, since you're obviously in on this situation, what's the situation with Indiana County courts? Are they open at all for any events? What's the schedule there?
Sure. So a couple of weeks ago, we got a notice from President Judge Martin that in correlation with the statewide judicial emergency that's been declared by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, that Indiana County would extend their judicial emergency as well until June 1st. So I think it'll be reassessed here within the next couple of weeks. But what that means is that the courthouse is generally closed to the public until June 1st. Mm-hmm. Now, you can still get attorneys can still get some work done. There is a limited staff working at the courthouse, so we can file documents with the Prothonotari's office. We can record documents, deeds and mortgages and things with the recorder's office, and so each of the departments in the courthouse do have a limited staff working. It's just they're restricting in-person access. Now, there has been a little bit of loosening of those rules, both from the state level and implemented here at the county level, that some of the proceedings can occur in person so long as social distancing and masks and things are in place. Very important proceedings, dependency proceedings for children that are in the CYS system can go forward. Certain criminal proceedings and things. So there are some things happening in person, but for the most part, and I've done a lot of this. We've been doing all of our hearings on Zoom. So I've had Friday, I had several pretrial conferences, and we did all of those on Zoom. I've actually had evidentiary hearings done, via Zoom, which is, of course, video conferencing. So that's been interesting.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. Hey, let me ask you this, because I'm sure that people have questions. I just don't know if they're asking you. When it comes to businesses reopening, merchants, other businesses, and what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, are people asking those sorts of questions of you?
I've had a few clients ask those questions, so what I'm telling people is you've got to follow these regulations that are coming down. I know that there are a lot of people that are suffering, how difficult this time has been. But if you're not following the regulations, they're not. Number one, if you're a state licensed entity, okay, so if you have a liquor license that's regulated by the state, if you have a cosmetology license or some type of a health license that is regulated by the state, you could be in licensing trouble, which, it's not worth it to jeopardize your livelihood, over this issue. And the other issue that I've raised with some of my clients that they didn't realize is that if you have insurance, so you open your business and you have business insurance, liability insurance in place, if something happens at your place of business, someone gets injured and sues you, right? You have this coverage. Mm-hmm. That coverage, very likely, in those policies, it says that you need to be in compliance with all local, state, and federal regulations for a claim to be, for you to be able to make a claim on that policy. So something happens. Insurance companies are always looking at ways not to pay claims. That would be a real easy one.
Yeah.
So I've had those questions, and those are some of the responses that I've given. But it's great that, like you said, we're in yellow and things are starting to open up.
I'm sure that as somebody who practices law and is a fan of the way laws proceed, whether from the local, the state, or the federal level, you've been watching this this battle going on in Harrisburg over the constitutionality of what the governor has done, and I'm sure it's certainly raised some issues within your mind as to whether these protests are valid, whether they move to impeach, all of these things. And I don't want you to comment on any of that, but just does that sort of thing pique your interest to follow what's going on as courts are generally at some point going to get some of these cases and say to themselves, all right, we have to sort through all of this?
It does, absolutely. This is a classic from someone that, I was a political science major and then went on to law school, and someone who has, really followed these issues. This is just a classic separation of powers issue that is really interesting from a scholarly perspective, and then from a practical perspective as well, because it's so important and it's affecting our state and our country in so many different ways. But yeah, really, really interesting, to see where does the governor, in Pennsylvania we have obviously the governor has taken some very, very bold and drastic action. And where does his power stop, and where does the legislatures kick in? And that's what we're seeing, and it is very interesting. And you see in Wisconsin, as you probably noted, that the Wisconsin Supreme Court actually just put on hold some of their governor's stay-at-home policies. So very similar. The governor and the department and the Secretary of Health in Wisconsin kind of, got together, came up with these stay-at-home orders. It was all going along for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden the Wisconsin Supreme Court said, wait, okay, this has gone on long enough. Now, if you want to extend this, in a general manner. Maybe you can keep it in place for certain large gatherings and stuff. But if you're going to, keep people at home and have all these businesses closed, you've got to run it past the legislature in some fashion. So that it's playing out all over the country, and it's really, really interesting from a legal perspective. Definitely.
I'm sure as well that the arbitrariness of how some decisions are made interests a scholar such as yourself as well. I want to ask you this then, as sort of a follow-up to that. When you look at issues such as this coming before courts, and you see the buildup coming, does it take some enterprising attorney to actually take a case to court before a court is going to step in? Because it seems like some of the issues have been there for quite some time, and people have had these questions, and it's always been back on the back burner, and all of a sudden it comes to the front burner and somebody turns up the heat underneath it.
Sure, and that's what it takes, right? The courts in this country can't. They don't go looking for cases. They don't go making law. They don't go looking for cases. They can only decide what comes before them. So, absolutely, you need to have an attorney, a law firm that brings a case. You've also got to have the clients. So you've got to have people that have been that have suffered an injury, and whether it be in this case an economic injury, that are willing to go forward with that case and bring it before the court. And that's that's the way that major legal changes are made in this country.
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Marshall Chriswell, of course. It's another installment of Martial Law. So during this pandemic, and as restrictions have come and restrictions have been eased and things have happened, what are some of the questions that folks have brought up to you, some of the concerns that they have? And I'm sure that there are things out there that people I have doubts about this, or maybe there's something that I've put on the back burner. There we are, back on the stove again. I put on the back burner for a while, that now that everything has slowed down and I'm home, I can think about these things now. What are some of those issues?
Sure. So I've definitely got clients that have had more time than usual to think about things. And something that you and I have obviously talked about a lot are estate planning issues. That's one of those things that people just don't take the time to think about, and then we find ourselves in this situation. And not only, do you have more time to think, but also, we have all these public health concerns, which gets people thinking. So estate planning has been a big thing. I've had so many folks getting in touch to talk about those issues, and we've been able to do a lot of those consultations, over the phone or on video conferencing. And then, now we've got everything in the pipeline, and now we can get together with people and actually get documents signed. So that's one thing. Another thing that I dealt with a lot during this, and still dealing with, are folks that were looking to get some government assistance in the form of low interest or forgivable loans through the SBA. A lot of small business clients or self-employed folks that were that needed help and needed help working through the application process, and now on the back end we'll be seeing, there are requirements coming up to submit documents to ensure that some or all of those funds that you got through one of those programs is forgivable, and so working through those, because as I think we did a segment on this a few weeks ago. The guidelines from the SBA, federal government, were unclear at best. They were really a moving target, and still are. They're changing. It seems daily or weekly. So we've definitely worked with a lot of clients through those issues as well.
Yeah, I would bet. Okay, so you're in the atrium for now. You're going to be moving soon, but you've got a couple of weeks here at the atrium. Folks want to learn more about you, about your practice, about maybe some of their options. What do they need to do?
Sure, you can always give us a call at 724-465-5826, or go online to the website, which is a brand new website, just launched last week. The domain is the same. It's www.westlaw.com. westernpalawyer.com.
westernpalawyer.com.
That's right.
Very good. Marshall, thanks so much.
Hey, thanks a lot, Todd. Have a great day.
You too. We'll see you.
Have a great day.
You too. We'll see you.
Have a great day.